Welcome back to Spirit You. It's me, Danny, your big brother of spirituality, ready to teach and share anything I know about spirituality. Today, I'm going to talk more about astrology. The last talk, I did talk about astrology and whatever path in the astrology field I went down there. What did I talk about last night? I talked about the different houses, like from Aries to Taurus to all the way down to Pisces. I talked about the ideas of it being true or not, and what the basic idea is. So for a recap for that, the basic idea is that astrology is about the spiritual energy that the planets and the stars in the sky give depending on where they're placed in the sky at the time. Yeah, so for example, when Mercury on the trumpet, the good old trumpet player Mercury, is standing on this position of the stage being the sky, and Mars with the big old drums is right here in the sky, and Libra with the saxophone is back there. Apparently, when all the musicians or all the planets, celestial bodies are positioned on certain places in the sky, it's going to change the spiritual energy that these planetary bodies emit onto Earth. And yeah, they'll give you a different vibe or a different energy or spiritual energy, a different feel. And in yesterday's talk, I described it as music. They're going to play different music depending on where everything is positioned in the sky at the time. So, knowing that astrology is all about the spiritual vibe or energy that the planets give depending on where everything is, we can understand that when someone is born at a specific time, we know at that specific time they were born, each planet and star and constellation was in a certain position to where they were born and when they were born. Thus, when they were born, a certain spiritual vibe was in the environment. So, people are born into certain and specific and particular spiritual energies or vibes or music when they are born. And that is what their general spiritual tone or melody will be for their life or their identity. It doesn't mean that they have to embody this energy. For example, if they were born like me during the time when the sun was playing the Libra song, if they were born during the time the Libra song was playing, they don't have to embody the Libra theme song throughout their whole life. It's going to be within them because they were born into an environment that was playing that music. But that doesn't mean they have to, because, life gets in the way and we can embody so many different types of spirits if we want. But by default, because we grew up there and we were born into that environment, it's there within us easily. And I use the example. So if I'm born in a village where we climb trees and eat bananas, I don't have to always climb trees and eat bananas. But sometimes when I feel like it and I'm hungry and I'm not thinking consciously what I want and my body just knows I'm hungry, I might, without me knowing, climb some trees and go eat bananas. Like, I won't even think about it, I'll just do it. And I might wake up and be like, oh shit, what am I doing in this tree eating banana? And of course, luckily, knowing that, hey, I grew up in that environment, I'm like, I'm just doing that thing. I'm just doing that Libra thing. Because that was the music that I was born into at the time of my birth. Just an example, okay? I'm not saying that Libras actually like going to climb trees and eat bananas. But that's just an example, okay? Don't take it literally. Yeah, so that's the recap I was talking about. And yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit more because, come on, with any topic, there's a million things to talk about. There's heaps of things to talk about with anything. And me being born with the Libra theme song and music, y'all know I got heaps to say. I'm an air sign, and air signs were all about thoughts and words. So there's millions and bazillion thoughts going through my head right now, as you guys probably picked up. What usually happens with me, but who cares? We're all gonna have fun. We're gonna go climb trees and eat bananas, and yeah. So I want to talk about astrology more today. Let me look at my notes. Give me a minute. What specifically what I want to talk about? Okay. This is the main thing I wanted to point out today. Okay, this is the main thing I wanted to point out today, given that last night I talked about I talked about astrology as well. Okay. Spirit U here, this Spirit U channel, the Spirit U space, is all about talking about spirituality, all about showing, guiding, and teaching people about spirituality so we can all become more in tune and more spiritually aware and more aware of the spiritual language. We build that spiritual awareness. Given that I usually will start with foundational things like the basics, I want everyone to understand that when I talk about astrology, that is not something that is important that you need to know for your spiritual awareness growth. I didn't want to say spiritual growth, but in terms of developing your spiritual awareness, intelligence, and wisdom, astrology is not important, okay? It's just a specific field that you can look into when you are curious about growing your understanding about spiritual ideas and spiritual things, because it's still, in a sense, an esoteric field within the overall scope of spirituality. Just like any religion is a specific scope and field, or like any spiritual practice is a specific scope, or like anything in life is a specific scope. For example, your ideologies and your philosophies, they're all actually spiritual fields and scopes that are all part of the ensemble that is life and the being of life, which to the spiritualist is a spiritual thing. Living is a spiritual thing. That's a big one for spiritual awareness. But like I was trying to say before, it's not important. You don't have to know too much about astrology. You could be a spiritual master and be heaps high level, like level 300 swordsman of spirituality, and not have any skill points put into astrology. You don't need to know it. But I like to talk about it, and I think it's still valuable to share, because whether it's important or not for developing your basic spiritual awareness and understanding, astrology is still a fun field to explore, because astrology is all about the spiritual energy that planets, stars, and constellations in the sky apparently give and emit. So it's all about the spiritual energy of certain things outside of us affecting us spiritually. That's why I still feel it's, a good thing to talk about. It's not important. You're not going to fail any qualification of being the spiritual maestro or anything. You don't need to know it. But it's a fun field to explore, because it's still teaching us basics in spirituality and spiritual interactions. If you remember that example I gave earlier on my first talk about a man going to a shop, talking to a happy shopkeeper and leaving the shop happier, that whole spiritual engagement of one party engaging with another party, they interact and mix, and then they both leave with different spirit because of the interaction. We can think of astrology and the effects that are observed and played about with in astrology as pretty much the same thing. Because we can think of that as, instead of a man going to a shopkeeper, interacting and engaging with that shopkeeper, and then leaving a certain way after that energy exchange, we can think of it as a man, whether he likes it or not, he is engaging with Venus in this part of the sky. And because Venus is that part of the sky, that man is engaging with Venus when Venus on the saxophone is playing a certain tune. And then after, the man leaves with a different kind of spirit that was affected by Venus in the sky at that time, like Venus being in Libra, because apparently Venus is the planet for Libra, something like that. Yeah. So just understand, it's not important. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know too much about astrology, but just understand the idea of astrology is about the spiritual energy that the planets and the stars give us or emit to us while we're here on Earth, living our physical lives, living in this physical realm. Those spiritual bodies, or those bodies, are giving off spiritual energy, and we are engaging with it. Everything is engaging with us, to be honest. Everything around us is engaging with us. Everything that's far away from us is, in a sense, slightly engaging with us. It's just we're not picking up on those slight vibrations because they're either too far or they're not important enough, or that spiritual energy from a distance isn't strong enough, or even more deep and spiritual. We can say that those bodies far away from us, they're not spiritually aware of us, thus not influencing us spiritually, because they don't have that spiritual connection. They don't have that higher dimensional connection to us, because they're not aware of us, consciously aware of us, subconsciously aware of us, spiritually aware of us. Or those outside influences too far away, they may not be even considering us. They could be affecting other things around us, but maybe they haven't. We weren't a chosen target or recipient for the energy that they may be emitting. But generally enough, They're not big enough. Apparently, the planets out there are huge. So the spiritual energy they emit is huge. Apparently, constellations, which is a mix-up of different stars in certain positions. And that's actually talking about a whole geography out there in space, giving us an effect. Apparently, those energies are strong enough to affect us and affect our spirit. And depending whether we want to interact with that spiritual engagement and then embody whatever the effects are of that. For example, Venus and Libra affecting us, so we are more concerned about harmonizing with others around us. It's up to us if we want to prioritize and be conscious about harmonizing with others around us. Because that Libra music is playing out there in space and it's affecting us. We may not hear it completely, but it's still there. It's still affecting us spiritually. There may not be physical indicators that that signal or that energy is actually transferring and encountering us. But we're talking about spirituality here, and we need to be a bit more open-minded about how communication and connection works. Because there is a lot of connection beyond just what we see presently here in the physical world. Should I mention this? Okay, so an interesting spiritual esoteric idea, or what's a better way to word this? The specific spiritual beliefs from different spiritual sectors or groups or populations, communities, where the idea is that this physical world and this physical life we experience in our heads that is running on the scale of time and space, because that's what puts us in this 3D, 4D world, time and space. And that's what we're experiencing. Apparently, that is just that's an insignificant, small amount of the real life that our spirits live and experience. Apparently, it's just a little minuscule thing. I know, because a lot of us are bound here to our physical life and our physical world and our physical world perception. We can only perceive life on that third and fourth dimension and fifth and sixth. I haven't taught you how we're perceiving things in the fifth and sixth dimension, but we can only perceive life from these physical world tiers of dimension that we feel and experience that, oh man, humans usually only live about to this age, and so it's actually not that much time, or that's all the time we got. Damn. Apparently that amount of years is all we got. Whereas these spiritual beliefs actually say that this amount of time, that's actually not the truth. This amount of time actually doesn't exist. And time itself, the whole measurement of the duration you have, actually doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist, and everything is happening then and there. So it sounds complicated, but the idea is that, for example, me, I'm over 30 something years old. Apparently, all the years that I lived through and gained all this knowledge and experience and grew, Apparently that all happened right now, not before, not in the future. It's all existent right now. It's all happened right now. So I am a child. I am an adult. I am a sperm cell. I am my father when he was a sperm cell, and his father when he was a sperm cell, and all our forefathers and all that, and whatever species or creature we were, whatever chemical we were back then, I'm all of that. And everything in the future that my future offspring will be, or whatever energy I emit in the future, I'm already all that. This whole idea of time is bullshit. Not bullshit. Okay, bullshit's the wrong word. It's just, it's not. Time is a very limiting measurement to the reality of things, because everything's actually is already. Wait, I wasn't supposed to talk about this. I was supposed to talk about astrology. What was it? Why am I giving this example again? There's got to be a reason why I'm talking about this example of time and space and how it's not important. Give me a minute. I wanted to explain time and space because, you know what? It doesn't matter. Just, it's a cool little idea, all right? So everything that is, that was, and is about to be, is. It's a cool idea as well because remember how it's better if everyone becomes present? When you become more present, it disempowers the past and the future, but it also empowers the past and the future. And then it's all brings it back to the present anyway, because the present's the only thing that matters. I don't know if that's important to anyone right now, but let's go back to astrology and what I was trying to explain. All right, so it's not important, okay? You don't need it. You don't need astrology. You don't need astrology to improve your spiritual awareness. It's just a fun thing to understand in terms of spiritual mechanics and energonomics, because it's about the celestial bodies affecting us spiritually. Did I say what I had to say? Let me look at my notes. Okay, so that's the main point I wanted to bring. But of course, given that I'm already talking about this, we can talk about heaps more other stuff. So what's something I wanted to talk about? Okay. So yesterday, I talked about how right now in this Western astrology, what do we call this? Belief, these Western astrology beliefs, given that in these beliefs we've chosen to use 12 specific houses to represent 12 specific vibrations or energies. Yeah, so we've chosen 12 ideas. Holy crap, wait, give me 1 minute to just reset. So in Western astrology, the year or the time it takes for the Earth to apparently travel around the sun, that is divided into 12 sections or 12 phases. And these 12 phases seem to have their own specific spiritual energy and vibration that they emit and cause. And they're known as the 12 houses or the 12 astrological signs. You know, being Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, blah, 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 blah. All right, so what I wanted to talk about them. Yesterday, I gave a brief talk about what each of those houses, what each of the energies felt like, or what they're supposed to be like, what kind of qualities and characteristics those 12 houses have about them. I want to talk about the idea of where did the idea of these apparent spiritual energies or characteristics, spiritual characteristics or influences come from. In other words, I'll use me as being born under the Libra sign. Where did the qualities and traits of the apparent Libra sign come from? Like, it's not like just someone just wrote a book and be like, all right, anyone born when the sun is here is going to be like this, blah, 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 blah. These qualities and traits must have came from somewhere, right? And I'm here to tell you, I actually don't know where the information or the details of these qualities came from. I don't know where it all came from. But I'll give you an idea of what I think, or where I think, or how I think these qualities came about. Hopefully this is the truth, kinda. But I reckon for century or millennia, for thousands of years, the people that practice and follow looking at the stars, they up and they just kept observing, all right, when the sun is in a particular position. All right, so when the sun is in Libra, the general vibration and spiritual collective energy for everyone on Earth at that time, or everyone around us at the time, is this. And these observations of how everyone is acting, how everyone born during these times is acting, and all these observations of how everyone during this time, when the sun is here or when whatever is wherever in the sky, it all gets recorded, and it keeps getting recorded, and it keeps getting added to this big database that has been kind of been collected and refined and refreshed and reviewed over thousands of years, all up into the point where they just up and got all information. Out of the millions of records and observations we collected, it seems that when everyone is born, when the sun is here, they act like this. And when everyone is born, when the sun is here, they act like this. And funnily enough, whenever the sun is in that position, everyone on Earth is kind of like this. And that matches perfectly with the people we observed were born when the sun is here too. So that's the vibration. That's the spiritual energy of this particular position in the sky. When the sun is there, or when this planet is here, that planet is there. Yeah, so I don't know the truth, but I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure this is what it is, over the thousands and thousands of years when people always been looking at the sky, studying the sky, and studying everyone around, these are the qualities that have been observed. And it's like, so there is meaning when everything's in a certain position. It's like, for example, because it's kind of like checking the forecast of the weather. It's like, oh man, the moon is here right now, and Mercury is all the way over there. Oh, bro, there's gonna be a crazy storm. Like, that sucks. And given that I already calculated that the moon's going to be here and Mercury's going to be there again in about 400 years, this kind of storm's going to happen here again. Blah, 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 blah. Apparently people back in the day had that much time, or people back in the day knew how to influence time to slow it down or speed it up so that they could make the most of calculating the astronomy and astrology of all the planets. I think that's how it all worked. Who knows? But you know what? It sounds cool. I like that idea. That's what happened. And I think I'll add this other fantastical detail. A lot of these observations, this collected data, this spiritual data, this astronomic and astrologic data that had been collected over time, there was a lot you could tell. And given that you could tell the happenings of a lot of things, this is the part that everyone likes. Yeah, given that you could tell the flow of life and how things are going to play out, certain peoples didn't like that. They didn't like that people would know how things would flow. Because the fact that everyone was privy to information of how things would go, it disempowers certain people that want to be more powerful. Ooh, everyone loves these parts. And I think during the Spanish Inquisition, or the Western Inquisition of heathenous people that didn't follow the Catholic Church, that was trying to rule the world right now, they were probably looking at all the astrological and astronomic studies and be like, yo man, that's powerful information, and that disempowers, that undermines the power that we as the church that's trying to take over the world can have over everyone. Let's muddy their waters so that people can't utilize these observations that have been collected over thousands and thousands of years about the sky. Yeah. Because once people can't utilize and can't look to the skies for hope, they can't pray to the heavens and rely on the heavens to help them, who can help them against us? I don't know if that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's, besides that little twist in the story, where all these traits and qualities and characteristics of this star sign or this sun sign meaning this and all that, I think it all came from many years of observation and study of the people around, everyone around, and observing the skies. Because I'm pretty sure, well, I have an idea in my head. I don't know where I got that from. I think I watched some cartoons when I was young. But everyone back in the day, like thousands of years ago, they used to always look up at the sky, and knowing things in the sky was really important. Like you can tell the time of day just by looking at the sky. Like we didn't need clocks. Back then we were so knowledgeable and privy to things in the sky that we just look and like, it's 3 p.m. right now. And everyone's like, no, it's 3:05. Can't you see that Pluto is here right now? Like, oh yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, so they looked at the sky heaps back then, and they could also tell lots of things happening in the sky. They could map the world with the sky. Did I say that right? For example, when they're sailing and they're going through the ocean, they didn't need a GPS. The GPS was right up there in the sky. Like they knew where they were, because if the stars were in this position right now, and the moon is here, obviously they're here at this place on Earth. Like they were able to calculate that shit back then. I'm not sure if those techniques have been rediscovered nowadays, or if they've been simplified for us to know, so that whenever I get lost at sea, I can just look to the sky and be like, oh, I know where I am. It's all good. But I'm pretty sure that's how they did it back then. And yeah, if not, I'm just gonna look for my Libra and my Venus and hope that I figure some shit out when I look at the sky. And yeah, I think that's where all the qualities and traits and observations came from. Because I'm pretty sure, for example, what is it? Tomorrow, Virgo full moon. Yo, when full moon was in Virgo back in the day, and since back then, what is with my camera? See, that's my Virgo vibes hitting on me. I'm noticing little stupid details like, my camera light fading in and out. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure whenever Virgo was in full moon, all these peoples was observing how everything was, and it's like, yo, man, everyone's being anal about little details this month. Why is everyone so anal about all these little nitpicky details like that? Like, why is the wife complaining extra hard about how I breathe next to her and shit? The fuck? And then Johnny comes over and is like, hey bro, it's that time. Like, the moon's in Virgo right now. Of course everyone's like that. Like, oh yeah, true. Like, didn't you look it up on the historical notes of this time period and blah 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 blah? I'm pretty sure all this shit has been observed millions and million times over, and there's all these records and known ideas that were spread around. Like, everyone was aware, like, yo, this is the right time to give birth, or this is the right time to I don't know, start a business or some shit, or whatever. Like, there's useful information out there when you know characteristic traits of astrological positionings and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Damn, I already talked for 37 minutes. That's quite Virgo of me. Oh, I think the last thing I want to talk about in terms of astrology is the disbelief in terms of the horoscopic readings you get. So I don't know where all the people or all the communities or organizations that provide the horoscopic readings for people get the information from, but there's two ideas as to where they get these horoscopic predictions or forecasts for people. And when I'm talking about the horoscopic forecast or prediction, I'm talking about, for example, I'm a Libra, so I'm gonna open my Woman's Weekly magazine and look up what is in store for Libras this month. And then it's going to say some shit like, you're going to lose like $100,000 in gambling, and I don't know, your husband's going to have an affair with his best friend from high school, some shit. Okay. Where they got those, where these forecasts and predictions or these ideas of horoscopes come from, there's two things where I think they came from. It's either the people or the organizations presenting these forecasts, they observe the planetary alignments for that time period. They get a general idea of what the spiritual energy vibrations are going to be during that time. They get the specific traits for people born under specific star signs or sun signs alike, and then they mold or they come up with a forecast that works with the vibrations of the planets and the vibrations of the person. I'll explain that in simpler terms. I think these horoscopic forecasts or predictions come from the people observing what the spiritual vibe and energy is like for that time period, given where everything is in the sky. They get that spiritual energy or vibe from the sky, and then they imagine how it will affect a person with this spiritual energy, how it will affect them. For example, I'm a Libra born dude, so given that everything's going to be this position during this time period, how would this planetary alignment and the vibrations that this planetary alignment means or entails, how would it affect someone that's born under Libra like me? And then they give you an idea of what they think might happen, and they might jazz it up with like some interesting little like notes that might sound cool. The people giving these forecasts or predictions, they might pick up or they might channel specific energies that might happen, and it might actually happen for specific individuals. It won't happen to everyone as a whole collective, but they might pick up on little details that might happen to certain individuals. Thus, some people really loving where they're getting their horoscopic forecast from, because like, oh wow, they said something that absolutely related to me, because the person giving that forecast picked up on that spiritual energy and then mentioned it just in case whoever they connected with was going to read their forecast. So that's one way, looking at the ensemble of planets and where all the planets are positioned, what kind of music that's going to play and how that's going to affect this kind of person. I think that's one place where the horoscope comes from. The second place I think where the horoscope comes from is just straight up people trying to channel the energy, like straight mediumship, just trying to feel the energy. Like they think like, all right, how would people born under Libra, how would they feel during this time period? And they try to channel the energy, and then whatever ideas they get or whatever energies they pick up on, and they think or they feel, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen to Libra. They write it down, and that's the forecast. I think that's another way that they get these forecasts. Both not always 100% reliable, because at the end of the day, they're all collective forecasts. They're all for a mass amount of people. It's not going to affect everyone. Just like how not every diet is perfect for everyone. And like it could be either of those ways. Another way is just people just writing bullshit. Like, oh, what do I reckon people, like they might know like, oh, hey, during this time, the ensemblement of the planets are like this, which means this, and people from born under this sign are like this. Maybe I could make up some shit and give them a prediction and it'll be fun. That's the third way. So I can't guarantee the validity of whatever these horoscopic forecasts are, or if they are valid or anything. I don't particularly follow them because I don't connect. What's that word, people? Yeah, I don't resonate with many of the horoscopic forecasts that happen. It's fun for me to read because it's interesting, because like, oh shit, apparently I'm gonna like start a new business tomorrow, or like, oh, someone's gonna give me business tips of how to defeat my enemies in the next few weeks. Like it's fun to read. It's really fun to read. I'm not gonna put a lot of stock into it because I have no idea where this information is coming from. But it's fun. And who knows, if I believe any of the shit that is said enough, I can believe it into existence if I really want to. Because, hey, I'm the type of guy I can believe whatever the hell I want into existence anyway. So it's fun having these little prompts for me. But in terms of the validity, I'm not sure. The 3 points I gave, all of them can mean, all the 3 ideas of where these forecasts come from, all 3 of them can actually be completely valid and what's the right word? Authentic sources. Yeah, they can be authentic sources. I know it sounds crazy because one of them was about relying on what you understand of astrological positions. The second one was about trusting that whoever was trying to channel the cosmic energies is, the second one was relying on a person trying to channel the cosmic energies and hopefully giving you the correct energy reading. And the third one was someone just prophesizing about shit. It sounds crazy, but all 3 can be valid and all 3 could be, what's that word I used before? Authentic. Is that the right word I use? Yeah, they could all be legitimate. Look, they could all be for reals, is what I'm just trying to say. You know, if you throw anything under the bus, it's like, oh no, that's not true, or like that can't be real, blah, blah, blah. You still have a lot to learn of how this spiritual universe actually works. Because there are too many things that work in complicated ways that you don't have the logical capacity to understand yet. I didn't say there's no logical sense. I didn't say that. I said you don't have the intellect, wisdom, or logical capacity to understand yet. And if you don't understand what I mean by that is, when people in the 12th grade study specialist maths and maths methods, to most everyday people, all that stuff doesn't make sense and it seems illogical. But to these students studying that sort of arithmetic, it makes perfect logical sense. They just have a different understanding. They have a different capacity logically and arithmetically and algorithmically to understand that sort of language. Yeah, so I think those are just the 3 things I wanted to say. 48 minutes, should we wrap it up? I wanted to talk about last thing, but I think I talked about different kind of thing. In terms of astrology, I want to talk about the elements, because each of those houses have an element. Given that there's 12, given that there's the 12 houses, that means, and then there's the 4 elements, that means there's 3 of those houses in each of those elements. There's 3 signs. This is very easy to look up. Yeah, it's easy to look up. All right, so I'll just name them because I already said I was going to name them. So fire signs are Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius. They're all about me. And they're all about me and why I'm the best and powerful and why everyone follow me because we're going to do this. And fire. Look what I have created. Fire. Yeah, they're all intense. So air or wind or bird type Pokemon, that's Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. And they're all about mental activity and words and thoughts. They're all about figuring shit out and calculating shit. They're all about understanding. They just understand and they know how everything works. We just know everything. And we're all about talking, and that's why I talk so much, man. I'm Libra. I talk heaps. Yeah, we're air type Pokemon, or we're lightning type Pokemon. That's actually what I reckon it is. We're all about lightning. We're all about data, information. I don't believe it's air. I believe it's lightning. Well, it's both, because air, air crashing to air creates lightning. So same shit. So yeah, Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini, we're the storm element. Water element, or ocean element, or the wet element. We got Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And they're all about feeling how things flow. And spiritual things, like spiritual understanding and spiritual flow and emotion. They're the wet ones. And Earth, they're all about building, and they're all about having. It's all about having. With Earth, it's all about, what do I have and what can I build? Like, what can I make? Anything that's on Earth, anything that's material, and anything about like accumulating material or having more of, that's Earth, baby. That's what's Earth again? Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. They're the ground type Pokemons, which are weak against flying types. Oh, should I talk about anything? Just like I said before, in terms of Pokemon lore, how like one is stronger than the other, that doesn't exist. Okay, so that doesn't mean water types are super effective against fire types and shit. Okay, that's not how we're not playing that kind of game. It's not like that. Okay. If anything, I reckon fire types can be super effective against water as well, because they bring so much heat that they evaporate water. So it all depends on like who brings more of the force when the battle comes down. Is there enough water to drown out the fire, or is there enough fire to dry up the water? Ooh, it's time y'all settle this. Like, I want to see what everyone thinks down in the comments, because this beef needs to get settled ASAP. No, okay, I'm joking. But yeah, it doesn't work that way, okay? Anyway, I talked about the main points I wanted to talk about. It took me an hour to talk about all that, but who cares? We'll got to learn something, or we all just got to enjoy me rambling on about whatever and becoming more spiritually aware for an hour. And with that, what's a take-home message I can give y'all? A take-home message. Oh, okay, yeah. So look, with the horoscope, you don't have to believe the forecast I give you, but it's just better if you have an understanding of the basis of astrology, that these observations of planets and stars in the sky, they have been observed to give off specific spiritual energies that affect everyone on Earth. So understand what those spiritual energies are from each planet and each constellation, and you might, have they might be handy tips or things for you to know as you go on through life. Because, tomorrow's Virgo full moon. That could be some useful information for some people. You might be aware that, hey, when I start talking to Susie about certain things, she's probably going to feel this way inside about it, and she's probably going to be thinking about this. So knowing that she's going to react like this, and I'm going to be reacting like this, I can utilize this information to steer the conversation the way I wish it to flow. Or something like that. And if not, just have fun with the fantasy. Because life is too short for us physically bound beings to not enjoy. Anyway, have fun. Good night. And yeah, my name is Danny, and I like chocolate and sushi and ice cream. And yeah, thanks. Bye.